against the wall.
Yeah, I know it kind of sounds like some people who may be listening, it may sound like we're un-American, like we're commies or something, but that's not true. Our government are commies. They're Bolsheviks. And you don't need to look any further than the Communist Manifesto. You don't need to look any further than the policies implemented the last 10 years, or the last 30 years, the last 100 years. And as I said, if it looks like a Zionist and it smells like a Zionist, it is a central banker. And central banks who caused every boom, every bust. They fund both sides of every war. And so we're not un-American. And I say God bless Americans.
Oh, God bless Americans. God bless everybody listening to the show tonight. It's Against the Wall with your host, JJink, here at the UCY Media Network. Oh, welcome to the show. Hey, Chuckacelli, great job tonight. Thanks for having me on, bro. Let's see, back by popular demand. Tonight's show will feature my good friend in Austin, a brilliant Austin jazz musician, and a scholar. My friend Trevor LeBonte. Brother, welcome to Against the Wall.
It's good to be back, James.
Okay, so since the last time you were on, which was last week, I have actually gotten the band list for Freedom Palooza. Not incidentally, that little speech in the beginning, my intro, was from the Freedom Palooza before last year, the third one, where the ADL and the SPLC sent letters to oath queefers, and they all laid an egg and stabbed us in the back. So at any rate, yeah, now we got, so let me get on it. Let me get the list here. All right, some of the bands that are going to be there. Drew Shalley, all my friends love Drew Shalley. He does a show here on Sundays.
He's a great guitar player too.
Yeah, he is. He's actually pretty amazing. He's getting a full slot this year. He's booked as a musician, and is going to get a full slot to collaborate, to do whatever. I'm not sure what he's put together yet or decided on.
Actually, I'm supposed to play some with him. I just got a message from him with some songs that he wants to play and stuff. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, he's a great guitar player, actually.
He is.
Poker Face, one of my favorite bands. Storms, another great band. They've been every year. Some of these bands have been every year. Look, we've been attacked. The first year we had helicopters. No. The first year we had a guy up on the cliffs with binoculars. The second year was helicopters. The third year was the attack by the ADL, and then and then last year was the fourth year. And in my opinion, I mean, whether it's all coincidence, but last year we took, between last year and this year, a severe hit to the the scholarly works that in literature, and then a guy with Stones who had actually put together a political campaign to run for president. I mean, we were starting to do things, and then of course Edgar Steele passed away in prison. So it's going to be a somber event, but it's not totally. I mean, we're going to definitely we dedicate the entire weekend to Edgar Steele, to his wife Cindy, to James Trafkant, and to Michael Colin Piper and his Doug Hawk. You know Doug.
I'm going to be playing with him, too.
Are you? How about Jason Hendrickson?
Jason Hedrington. Yeah, I think I might play with him, too. Maybe I should, not play with every single person that's
you
asked.
You might be able to, because he's an amazing guy, man. I love Jason. And then of course you and Karina are gonna do an ensemble, or you're gonna do a full 40-minute set.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Peter James will be back, and the Tank, one of my favorite bands, the Tank.
All right.
Those guys, Charlie, they're just real great guys. Jim Loftus, Rick Dennison and his wife, they're amazing. She's got an amazing voice. They're a great duet. Eli James, a couple of names I haven't heard. Brian Kerbler, maybe I know him and I just don't remember. I hope Scott Marshall makes it. Dave Cahill has been to every event. He's a trooper. I wish he would make it. He may. So as far as entertainment goes, we're good for bands. Now, have you had a chance to look at the new speakers list that I put up?
Yeah. Yes, I have. Yeah, it looks amazing.
Um, let's see. We'll go down the list real quick, and then we'll just get into whatever is get intoable. Tarbeth will be talking, which is Paul Tapetti of Poker Faces, his wife. Ken Krawchuk, that guy's pretty cool. He's a politician. He's I forgot which party, an independent, you know what I mean? He's a great guy, all about rights, people's, less, I don't know. He really is a great guy. Eli James, we all know what he's going to be talking about. What's Karina going to talk about again? I forgot.
Well, normally she talks about the psychiatric industry, and of course how that's a big fraud from page one onward, and
DHM. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Is it DSM? Is that what it's called?
DSM, yeah, and that's just about as evil as can get. They know those drugs are completely toxic and shatter people's minds, and here we had a shooting last week, and guess what? Just like in every other shooting, the guy was on these SSRI.
Back to Columbine and before even Columbine.
But she talks about a lot of things. She has an incredible amount of knowledge, and
great.
She's just going to improvise. So we'll see.
I'm going to bring my guns don't kill people. People on psych drugs do. Sure.
Or people on MK Ultra do. That's
yeah. See, now I'm actually going to look into this one because this one has just like Lanza and Columbine. This has trauma-based mind control written all over it.
Yeah, I agree.
I have some friends. I'm not going to say I'm friends with John DeCamp, but I've got his cell phone number and a couple of his private investigators that have helped him in cases involving Columbine, involving the Franklin cover up and the scandal that surrounded it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it was an incomplete work, and I dropped out of the the ring of just really eating, drinking, and sleeping this business. So I'm going to get in contact with them. I got to know what their new intel is telling them, or whatever you want to call it. I feel like an idiot saying, my sources and my intel. I've got serious quality intel here.
Well, a lot of it is just can be figured out with common sense, and
most of it can be. Yeah.
Follow your gut, and you'll know, because we always get the same thing every time anything happens. There's a big crowd of people saying that the whole thing was a hoax and involving thousands of actors and that's the COINTEL operation that always pops up, and it really works amazingly well to divide the truth community. I'm watching people from all different angles just at each other's throats right now. The race issue thrown in there with the shooting, and
yeah,
it works really well.
Here's some of the things I know. One, they're saying, well, he's a white supremacist, and they created this manifesto, and that manifesto. First of all, unfortunately I do know a bunch of white supremacists, and it's just not really. I mean, those are things that they point out because they understand that it's all part of the Jew agenda, man. There's world Jewry. And it's not, no, they're not totally, but you got to look at the percentage, the population and the percentage of who you're dealing with as far as international banking goes, as far as smut and porn and Kabbalah wood and the electric Jew box.
The electric Jew, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they like to connect anti-supremacist, anti-Jewish ideology with racism, so are constantly trying to throw us in the same category with these white supremacists. And
Well, in his manifesto, which is just laughable, he talks about exactly, if he was a white supremacist, he would know the agenda to use minorities against, us.
yeah,
People that who they are really in battle with. Well, we're all Gentiles, but I suppose. But my point is that the serious white groups or the serious groups that he would be getting anything from, other than understand the agenda. They know that no, you can't just strip the Jews of their identity, and then they'll be basically good people because they all support Israel, man.
yeah. Like I said, I just think this one's got MK Ultra all over it, and you can see what they're doing is sort of how they use MK Ultra to make it look like Muslims are terrorists and are blowing up things, and they want people to think that white supremacists are like the other side of that from the West, and so that's what they're trying to combat is this. What they're actually against is anti-Jewish feelings, but they're trying to lump us in with like white supremacist groups when actually anti-Jewish feelings should be properly rooted in anti-racism because Judaism
They're
is totally
global and they're historic. It's not something that just popped up and all of a sudden, anti-Jewish sentiment has sprung up. It's never been seen or heard of before.
Mhm. So when they couple it with racism, then they turn us into hypocrites and they invalidate our argument against Jewish supremacism. And it works really well. And I'm just watching people all over the world
Here's
freak
something I heard today. I heard that in Berkeley, they're banning certain phrases like, what was it? If you say to someone that, or to a black or an immigrant, let's say an Asian or a Mexican, why are you being quiet? Why are you so quiet? You are actually a white supremacist. You are actually demanding that they submit to the superior culture, which is loud, apparently, not the United States is a melting pot, or if you think that affirmative action is racist, that in and of itself, just by the by virtue of uttering the phrase affirmative action is racist, you are an aggressive bigot.
Yeah, they're getting desperate to try to push that kind of stuff. And speaking of hypocrisy, one of the things that's really sticking out to me right now is people that are freaking out over the Confederate flag.
Yeah,
And
on the next show, if you want to hang out for another half hour, that's what the next show I guess they're going to talk about.
Yeah, I might be into that, but what I want to point out is that the United States flag is probably the greatest symbol of terrorism in the world. The United States is probably
racism or supremacy, supremacist attitude.
Absolutely, and the United States has failed to kill the right enemy in every war that it's ever been in, minus maybe the Revolutionary War, which led nowhere because we got exactly what the bankers wanted anyway.
Yeah.
And then maybe the War of 1812, but other than that, all these dozens of wars, the United States, but in the Confederate flag is the symbol of racism and I just want to urge people to.
Well, I got to be honest with you, dude. What I knew about the Civil War, what I knew about poor whites in the early part of the 18th century, in the 19th century was that there's no way that they would fight a war to support slavery. The poor whites were less than slaves. They didn't eat as well as slaves. They resented them. There was no way they would fight a war.
Mm-hmm.
They resented the slaves because they ate better. They were taken care of. They had, they were warm. So to think that the Confederate flag stands for racism, basically that's just a sham.
Yeah, that's what they want you to believe.
Or really didn't have much to do with slavery.
Exactly. It was another bankers' war, and
Exactly.
the North was just as racist. It had lots of slaves. There was even the main slave port was in Rhode Island, which is not a southern state, and so.
Well, Rhode Island was actually an old Dutch. It was the Jews that founded that area. Wasn't the first Jew Mason, Freemason lodge built in Rhode Island.
It was either that or the first synagogue in America.
It was the first synagogue too, because it was a Dutch outpost.
Probably both. Yeah, it's totally Jewish, and so what we've been taught about the Civil War is a bunch of lies, of course, and it's interesting that they hate this rebel flag, just kind of like they hate the German flag under NSDAP. These are symbols of resistance to world banker tyranny, and so they want them stamped out and forgotten forever. They don't want people digging in and finding out that the Civil War was a war of northern aggression, where the North invaded the South illegally, ignoring its rights to secession, and there's all these other things that come out that exposes the Jewish empire as you learn more and more.
It's true. And when I think of the Confederate flag, I think, first of all, I don't think of slavery, and I don't think of racist. I know there's probably there's racists everywhere. Everybody's racist.
Yeah.
And most people are racist, but they're not so racist that they just unprovoked go and murder a bunch of people. That just doesn't happen. That has MK Ultra written all over it. But when I think of the Confederate flag, what I think of what the opposite of what I think of when I see the gold fringed American flag, the flag of occupation.
Yeah, what's that called? The Admiralty flag? That's not the American flag at all.
That's the flag of occupation. That's the flag that, because we're a naval nation, that's the flag that's what the flag that we fly over occupied territory. So, in my opinion, the United States is occupied. It's under Admiralty law.
Yeah, I was going to say that they have us all. They've overridden the law of the land with the law of the sea, and
even your birth certificate. You come out the birth canal. You're given a certificate to birth. Same thing at a dock when a plane. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Everything about our legal system is freaking Admiralty. It's the law of the sea.
Yeah, that's how the Judeo-Freemasons skirt the law of the land, the law of God, and they impose their own way on us. And yeah, like you're born through this water, and even someone was even telling me today that the word seaman is like seamen. I don't know if that's part of it, but
I don't know. All I know is
technology goes on and on, though.
If you take your Confederate flag down because you think it's racist, you may as well put up a rainbow flag. Take it down and put up a rainbow flag, because why? To me, it represents everything that I'm about. I'm not Southern, but I'm about not being told what to do by a centralized federal government.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing that I think of when I see the Confederate flag too. It's just opposition to the federalism, to Lincoln's desire to tyrannize the country and institute this horrible federal government scheme over everything. Because it used to be that the states governed themselves, and then the federal government had like really weak powers, and even the states had really limited power.
They're supposed to facilitate commerce and protect our borders, and they haven't really done Well, they facilitated commerce, but really what they facilitated was transfer of wealth.
Yeah, and they cancel all the tariffs and everything. We need the tariffs to protect the nation. That's
We
just one of
did.
the.
If we had tariffs now, we would have nothing because everything we have comes from. They've allowed American companies to go to foreign countries and then consider them. I just don't get it, man. Nobody can see it because we're all on a hamster wheel, dude.
Yeah, I know it's hard, but I think people are waking up really quick, and we can't give up. And I'm actually really excited to see people from all over the world. I'm getting on board, and America is one of the slower countries to do so. But I think that when it all happens, it'll be just like a big chain reaction. I mean, these quote unquote anti-Semitic movements don't slowly build over time. They just kind of appear when they're ready to. They're suppressed, and then when the time comes, they just sort of pop out. When people have had it, they've had it. And like in 1933 in Germany, and
And
but this time
Portugal,
it's got to be
Spain,
on a
it's happened all over the place.
yeah, all throughout history.
They've had to literally drag them out of the newspapers, out of the meat. You know what I mean? They've had to take them out of government, pull them out of the banking system to rescue their countries.
hmm Yeah, have you ever studied the Hungarian Revolt of I believe it was 1953?
No.
They had like total Jewish communist government, and the people went in and just dragged all these people out into the streets and they shot them, and they had this revolution, which was an anti-Jewish uprising, and then the Soviet Red Army came in and crushed it after about a week. But I mean, people wake up to this, and I'm sorry to say it is Jews and Judaism and Jewish supremacism. They're always at the root every time. And I wish it wasn't so. It would be easier to deal with the problem. We wouldn't have to deal with these like politically correct idiots running around going, "Oh, you can't say that," or whatever. But it takes 5 minutes, people, to figure out who's behind the wars. When you get sick of these wars, go look and see. It's the Jewish lobby pushing the country into all of these
Yeah.
wars based on all of these lies, and it's just pathetic that more people haven't figured it out yet.
More people haven't figured it out, and that's because this is an industry that's not. It's not a movement. It's an industry.
Mm.
That's the deal. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong. I know I'm a little jaded, and I'm sure somebody could spend some time and put together, 70 reasons why JJ is wrong about the truth industry. But
There's an
it would
industry
be
clinging
because
to
it
it.
wouldn't change my mind.
Yeah, I think there's an industry clinging to it, but there is, in theory, just a truth movement, and that's
Yes, but that dude, we could do
anyway.
that without. We do. That would happen. That can happen. Yeah, I agree. I agree. You're right. You're right. If the spread of information, the free travel of information, can bring down an empire.
Yeah, you have to believe in that, and that's all that matters. But yeah, I do know lots of people that have been fighting this battle for a long time, yourself included, that are tired and they get jaded, but nobody ever quits, and they keep fighting it. Nobody ever comes back to me and says, "You know what, you were wrong. I looked, and it's the Eskimo lobby or the Cherokee Indian lobby that's
Well, I
behind
was
the
wrong
wars."
because I didn't know, and for a while there, I called everybody Jew haters, and a lot of them are ridiculous. A lot of those guys, but I just really had to start looking into things like cultural Marxism, Marxism, and then Judaism itself. And I've found that some fascinating things.
Yeah, studying Judaism is like staring into a burning hole into hell. It's totally evil, and no one can argue with that. And the things that are even there's a lot of people that are convinced that it's just the Talmud and it's just the Khazars or whatever. But it's the problem is, I think that's
Well,
just
it's
some.
because they're led by their rabbis. The rabbi's job is to, fool the general masses of even Jews.
Yeah, well, that's definitely true. I think that the rabbis have ultimate control over the people. They're not allowed to leave the cult, so I do keep that in mind. We need a certain amount of mercy. But again, this is not about hating Jews. I don't
No,
love or hate them at
absolutely
all.
not.
But it's about countering their ideology, which is moral relativism, the idea that some human beings' lives are not valuable and have no sanctity. So it's just remember that, people. It's just an ideology that you're battling. So don't let anyone call you a racist. Your opposition to Judaism is rooted in anti-racism. So that's why it's important for us to not be racist.
Well, and if you can't have the discussion with somebody without freaking out and getting hostile, then just don't.
Yeah,
Because it hinders.
you know what I feel like as a person that's uh, just what do you call it? Can't think of the word when you shut off a bomb, when you defuse a bomb. Because the person, you have to get close to them and have a conversation with them, and without knowing how they're going to react, and they might like explode in your face. So it's dangerous work, but it takes, if you get really really skilled at it, you get pretty good, and it's definitely a job that needs to be done. People need to get inside the minds of these brainwashed people and try to pull them out of the matrix. And I feel like I've gotten pretty good at it, and I haven't really had people explode on me. The problem is if you're trying to talk to like a large group of brainwashed people, and maybe they'll try to shout you down. But if you can start with your friends, and I don't recommend going to your family.
Basically, I start with just flat out, I do not support Israel in any fucking way, in any shape or manner, and then, it leads from there, usually.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start, because there is absolutely no reason to support Israel. I could list off a huge list of things that make it totally illegitimate. I mean, but people try to focus the conversation on Israel's racist policies and how, it needs to have peace with the Palestinians. And this is like a whole false argument. These people just need to get out. We might have talked about it last week, but the idea is like if someone busts into your house and then demands that you give them half of it or make peace with them, or it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah, or at the very least, they annex your garage and part of your backyard.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
shoots you if you try to go onto your property.
So yeah, think about it. A person comes into your house and perish the thought, harms people in your family, murders people, whatever, and then you're expected to make peace with that person. That is just like the most ridiculous thing. And as soon as people can see through that there's never going to be peace with the Israeli entity, they don't just want Palestine. They don't even just want greater Israel. They want the world. And you can trace it all the way back to the Old Testament, where they're saying that all of the nations will be on their knees to the Jews. All of our money will end up in their hands. Our kings will crawl on their knees to them because of usury. And the whole New World Order blueprint comes straight out of the Old Testament, and that's as simple as it gets. And so the Israeli entity is the most dangerous thing on earth, and it has to be stopped immediately. And luckily, we've got a huge anti-Zionist revolution that was pretty much started by Ayatollah Khomeini in 1979, and we've got Hezbollah in Syria and certain forces.
Yeah, because if we're not going to do it, they're going to do it. Somebody has to. They have to, because their actual life depends on it.
They're doing it. And then you've got Putin backing them up now, too. So, I mean, we talked about it last week. The New World Order is collapsing, but it needs to be really put out of its misery, and people just need to stand up to this crap and tell all your pro-Israel neighbors and friends that they're full of shit, and well, maybe in nicer terms than that. But
most of my neighbors are I don't know, actually. I don't know where.
Find people pro-Israel. Either they don't care about it, or
here's the deal. I mean, I don't have to look far, man. My my half brother is married to a person who, and I love her. I mean, she's a great girl, but she raises money for Israel.
Yeah, well, they don't know what they're doing in a lot of cases. No. They're being fed all this false information about.
Well, and that's why I don't just, automatically jump on the old bandwagon and start calling people names.
I don't recommend.
It's enough that she knows I don't support Israel.
Yeah, that's fine. But I'm in a position where people come to me constantly and they confide about their family problems, and I can tell you that
You
family
show
members are
books
the
that
most
you
difficult to deprogram. They freak out big time, and people tell me that these are people that are respected throughout the truth community, and everyone believes them, and their research is all impeccable, but their own parents or their own husband or wife or kids uh, think they're crazy and think they've gone off the deep end. And so, family members, I just recommend people be really careful with them. I tried to call all of my extended family to the table, so to speak, via an email, and got the total cold shoulder. And I produced this rock solid argument that proves that Israel did 9/11, putting it all right in their face, showing them the Mossad truck bombs and dancing, celebrating Israelis when the first plane hit, filming it with their camera on a tripod, and just all the 250 smoking guns that you can't.
mentioning the dancing Israelis is always a plus here on my network.
Yeah, Dancing with the Stars.
Well, a lot of people always gloss over that fact, or the fact that the largest spy ring ever uncovered in the United States was Israeli spy ring, and
Yeah,
that there were hundreds of Israeli art students around the country trying to sell their art, and they were all proven. They're proven to be Mossad.
yeah, they were walking around
Trying to
government
sell
buildings.
their art to, State Department, federal buildings,
Yeah,
all across the country.
yeah, it's just an insult to anyone's intelligence to overlook Israelis. Their fingerprints are just all over it, and no one else's art. You can't connect anyone else to it. The Saudi connection that people are always talking about. Who gives a fuck? The Saudis are already a proxy of Israel. They're in an open alliance with it right now, bombing Yemen for the Greater Israel Plan. So it's it's an Israeli crime, and anyone. I mean, dude, the internet exists. People have fingers. Why can't they just get on there and Google like Israel did 9/11 and just look at the evidence? But even my own family totally rejected this email that I sent, and of course I sent it like an idiot the day after 9/11, so they're all like mourning, and but they're in the matrix. They're in a different reality than us, and
Well, I just try not to be antagonistic. If you can't manage that, leave it to other people.
yeah, I wasn't being antagonistic with
No,
them. I
not
was
you. I just when I find myself becoming antagonistic with any subject, whether it be vaccines or the corporation USA or the Federal Reserve or what have you, is when I find myself getting too aggressive and becoming antagonistic, I stop. I apologize, and then I just disappear for a while till I've had, you know what I mean? Because it's again, it hinders the free flow of ideas, because we should be able to talk about things, and if I'm not willing, because I have had to change my view or change my position on a lot of things.
Oh yeah, yeah. You have to leave yourself in a position to accept or to admit when you're wrong. So if you're
Yeah, not to
aggressive
make an
with somebody,
excuse why I felt this way. I was wrong. Plain and simple. You can just leave it at that. I was wrong. You don't have to justify why you were wrong. These are the reasons I was wrong. If it wasn't for this or this or this or this or this, I wouldn't be wrong. Just you were wrong. I changed my position. My old position was incorrect.
well, I'm pretty sure that we're not wrong because of all the hate campaign that I endured here in Austin, no one was able to come to me and discuss the
Well,
points that I was
this
raising.
is the part that I don't find part of the truth industry, because this is when I got down to to the nails, to the brass tacks of it. The anti-Zionist movement, is not really out there trying to, sell fucking gold and silver and squatty potties and filters and fucking dick pills and whatever all these guys sell.
Yeah, that's
You know what I
true.
mean?
That's true.
They're trying to
But
eliminate an idea that has enslaved humanity, black, white, Mexican, you name it. We're all goy.
there's quite a bit of infiltration going on in the anti-Zionist movement, though they always are the Jews historically have always been able to commandeer movements and steer them towards their own goals. And this is the one that's happening now. So the big thing is like the idiots that were
Well, to
saying,
me, they use they use capitalism. They come in there and they say it's okay to make money. There's nothing wrong. You're just this is free market capitalism. I'm selling, you find value in what I'm saying. No, that's just a left wing idea, though.
but this is an interesting thought that I've picked up from Nahida, the exiled Palestinian, the poet and blogger,
Right, right.
and Gilad Atzmon, is that Zionism, the movement of Zionism, actually ended in 1948 because it was a
Yeah,
movement of Jews to create a Jewish state. So for us to fight this thing that no longer exists is a very clever tactic of our enemies. We're basically fighting a phantom, and because the Jewish state exists, you can't fight Zionism anymore. You have to fight the Jewish state, Jewish power. To me, the banks are the head of the snake. You can't even stop Israel unless you stop the bankers. So I,
exactly.
I just worry about like this one pressure point, and then within that, what I see is that the people that are protecting the racist core of this Judaic Death Star are actually posing as anti-Zionists in a lot of cases. And you look at these shill groups like Jewish Voice for Peace. They don't care about the Palestinians. All they're doing is they're trying to filter out quote unquote anti-Semites from the discourse. And also, I mean, just look on their tagline of their Jewish Voice for Peace website, for example. It says Israelis and Palestinians, two people, one future. Now, what was I just saying about that a second ago? There are no Israelis. There's no Israel. There's only a racist, illegal invasion of the land of Palestine. There's no need to have dialogue with these people, just as there's no need to have dialogue with someone that comes into your house
Well,
and
it's the same as getting a letter saying, the minute you make a payment on a debt, you acknowledge the debt, as far as I'm concerned. So,
mm, yeah, yeah. Well,
so
so
really,
these
making a deal with them, making it one, two states or whatever, is actually, I mean, it's submitting. It's saying, okay, yeah,
absolutely, and that's the whole thing. You hear all this talk
they
about
have the right to resist
occupation.
under global all the rules of global war. They have the right to resist.
What exactly? That's so important. But what happens if BDS and all that is successful? Their mission statement is to end the occupation. But what is the occupation? The occupation is language that refers only to the West Bank. So it's the liberal Jews that actually want to end the occupation because that is the final step in the legitimization of a Jewish state. And even the BDS mission statement now says, as it was hijacked by the George Soros Open Society Institute, it says that it's it's no longer the liberation of all Arab lands. It's only the lands that were occupied after 1967. So that is the liberal Jews trying to pump the brakes on the Zionist project because they are aware that the world has been watching these blood curdling genocides, and the world is totally outraged at this Jewish state and is looking for answers. We've been told that the Jews want peace. Well, that was disproven in the last invasions of Gaza, where we were all treated to 1,500 Palestinians getting blown up in their houses by American F-16s
What
that
is
were
it,
given
like
to
killing
Israel.
children?
Watch the videos, people, of these parents pulling out the bodies of their smoking babies that are just black and curl up into a ball and cry, and then get up and fight against this evil shit. It's Israel has never wanted peace. It's only ever lied and stabbed everyone in the back every single time, and everything that it does is totally in accord with the Jewish ideology, Jewish supremacist ideology. They don't acknowledge Gentiles as humans. You don't have property rights. You're not shit. You weren't created for any purpose other than to serve Jews. You're an animal in human form. This all comes straight out of their religion. So it's not just like a few wingnut rabbis or whatever. They're reading from those fucking books and they are projecting this evil into the world, and it's our job to remove it, I think.
Yeah, and just to clarify something for somebody, the tunnels from Gaza into Egypt had been blocked by Egypt ever since this democratic uprising known as the Arab Spring. They immediately. That's why I said now, if you'll recall, Trevor, when it was going on, everybody was up in the air. Oh yeah, this is great. That's the people. Those are the people. You know, I said you will have to wait. I will tell you if they're Zionist controlled puppets or not by what they do with those tunnels as soon as they're, legitimize their government. And the first thing they did was they closed them.
Yeah, they fucking
flooding them. And so just recently, what was it last week? They arranged to have the tunnels open for a short amount of time. So that they were blocking them again, of course, but they had already been blocked and just opened for a brief period.
And you have to ask yourself, why would the Egyptians flood and block those 1,800 or so tunnels? That is the Gazans' only way to get any kind of supplies at all. They're under a complete blockade now for over 5,600 and some days, I think, And why on fucking earth would anybody do that? And the only reason is that Sisi and Morsi, even Morsi also, were just CIA, Mossad.
They were, absolutely.
And Sisi, yeah, I mean,
intelligence.
It's disgusting. But the proof is in the pudding. You don't even have to go and look up and see, Sisi's mom was Jewish, which I believe she was. There's these people that are obsessed that every time they find out about somebody, they have to go back into their ancestry and try to find out if there's any Jews in it. And that's not. You're wasting your time. You can see just from what they do whose agenda they're working for, and there's no such thing as like Jewish blood. I mean, Jewish is an ideology. It's a political entity.
It's like a business plan.
That's all it is. It's a business plan to take over and run the world. And there's people that have Jewish ancestors. It doesn't mean shit. And I just wish people would quit wasting their time and trying to find out who's Jewish by ancestry. I guess there's some value to it, but in certain cases, but that's what I'm doing all day long, is just trying to pick up people and put them back on track, because people are heading
it's ridiculous, because you can do all that, but then the thing of it is that person, it's not really a connection. They have absolutely no gravity on any decisions.
Right.
If you were to link, because I met one of my dad's wives' children is married to a person who raises funds for Israel. Now all of a sudden you can, link that to me, but there's nothing she could do or say. Not that she would. She's a wonderful person. I love her dearly.
Yeah. Well, another thing is, on top of all of that, it's fucking quasi-racist. Any person that has a Jewish ancestor is now a suspect. I mean, that's ridiculous. And
you can just judge people, and that includes everyone. That includes Netanyahu. That includes your aunt and your uncle, by their actions. You can be judged by your body of work, and that's all you really need to do. You don't have to go into somebody's ancestry. What the hell are they doing right now? What kind of fraud are they committing? What kind of genocide are they involved in? Who do they support? That's all obvious. So you don't need to go much further than that, much deeper than that, really.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there are people that when they become good people, they will stop being Jews. They will stop identifying as Jews. They'll even vocally reject Jewish supremacism like Gilad Atzmon did, but and who knows? I mean, these people are trapped inside this cult. They don't know any other way to do it. This is why what's been called for centuries the Jewish problem is so complex. I mean, how the fuck do you solve it? Is it their fault that they were born into this cult and brainwashed?
And the thing of it is you can't really solve it, can you?
You're just going to throw that open-ended question in my lap? Well, yeah, I mean...
no, I'm just kidding, dude. It is an open-ended question, but you can solve it for yourself, but you know what I mean? But, I mean, there is no... you can only do what's been done before, because nobody has the right to to do the things that are attributed to the television Hitler.
Yeah. I mean, the way to diffuse the whole thing is to be able to expose the racist core of this Jewish supremacist ideology. This is what the Jewish left uh, controlled opposition apparatus specializes in, is making sure that nobody hits the target. They deflect everyone's shot, so no matter what happens, it's never, Judaism. It's always just Zionism, or and so for so long they've been able to avoid having this conversation.
Well, for so long, in the last 100 years, that is.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the founding fathers, including going up all the way up to the Industrial Revolution, there were plenty of people that were fully aware.
Yeah, I mean, no one likes these people. That's what astounded me, because my whole life I just thought they were just like everybody else. But now I'm studying and finding out that all these different presidents, including John F. Kennedy, who referred to Jews as sheenies, which is weird. I hadn't heard that one before. But
I don't even know what that.
Or I'm sure you've heard the recording of Nixon's
Nixon?
telephone conversations with Billy Graham, and he's talking about what terrible power the Jews have over the country and how he hates them. And it's a Cold War. No one's allowed to say anything about it because it's politically incorrect. But I mean, when I was pouring my guts out to my mom and telling her about all this stuff, she just, after a while, she seemed kind of confused, and she was like, "Well, the Jews have always been despised, as if, and everybody used to know that. I mean, I don't want to say I hate them, but they are extremely dangerous with that ideology.
Yeah,
It's on ideology.
That revolutionary spirit, as E. Michael Jones puts it.
They can't call you a racist if you focus on the ideology, because we live in a society where we're free to criticize ideologies, right? So,
right.
But in anyway, people aren't racist. I have hardly met any racist people that are really in this movement, but it's hard to say, because as soon as I meet one, I usually just shut them out, because we have to distance ourselves away from these people. We can't be against Jewish racism based on racist reasons. It's right. Oxymoronic, but that's the trap that our enemies have to keep putting us in, which is why it's important to distance yourself from those people. Not that we wouldn't do that automatically, because I find racism abhorrent, and I don't care which race has the most IQ points and which one is the most industrious or whatever. Everyone deserves to be treated equally and fairly, and that's the Christian way, and that's the Islamic way, and that's just the ethical way to treat people. There's no biological determinist reasons why people have to reject any one group of people. Just distance yourself from racism, concentrate on ideology, philosophy, and we'll weed out this one group of people that is so racist. And it's ironic, because they're the same ones that have put this idea of racism being this totally abhorrent thing, that everyone has to walk on eggshells about this race issue and stuff. And here it's the most racist people of all that are in the SPLC and that are getting on people's cases, and
EDL, SPLC.
Oh man, yeah.
Racist. First of all, who gives you the right to determine that somebody is a terrorist hate group when you are yourself use the same tactics of terror and exploitation?
I know, it's total hypocrisy, and but people just don't quite see it yet.
Well, 30 years ago, nobody, law enforcement and politicians certainly didn't look at the ADL or the SPLC as like a government think tank the way they do now. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They get,
They're freaking out. They're trying to train all of the police officers in Israel to treat everybody like Palestinians. I mean, that's how the Jews view the world. So we are all Palestinians.
Yeah, we're all Palestinians, buddy.
We're all goyim. We're all just animals to them, and animals don't have any property rights or any kind of rights at all in their way of thinking. And
to the supremacist leaders, because all the cult followers, you can't always just blame cult followers. You got to look at their leaders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, but I can't get over the fact that they can't reject this non-universal ideology. Can't they see that there's a problem with trying to enslave the whole human race? So I don't really have that much. In the end, I don't have
I
that
don't have
much
much sympathy
sympathy.
either, bro.
Yeah, fuck them.
Book 'em, Daniel.
That's how I feel.
So you already got your plane ticket?
Yeah, I did actually.
What time do you arrive in Philadelphia?
It's on the first, on July 1st, and I can't. I think it's like maybe in the afternoon sometime. I can't remember offhand, but I'm there from the first through the seventh, and so we'll have plenty of time to hang out
The
and
fellowship.
I'm really thankful to our brother Kurt who hooked up the plane tickets for us
Gibson? Oh, never mind.
because I'm always under fire here. I mean, in my town they've made it more or less impossible for me to try to earn money, and this is what's so pathetic about it is that they can't come to me and have a discussion like adults about what's going on, you
Yeah,
know?
open dialogue in a public forum.
Yeah, come to me and prove that I'm wrong. Don't just go to the public and start telling them. And what do they tell them? It's all a bunch of lies. I'm a racist. Okay, that I've never been a racist. That's not true. Do you have a real argument that you can lay on my doorstep? And then so they have to insinuate that all people that oppose
Right.
Israel are do so because they're racist against Jews. And this, of course, reinforces the idea that Jews are a race, which they're not. Whites aren't a race. Blacks aren't a race. It doesn't work like that. And you ever think about that? How that's how they put us all in this box?
Yeah.
Like I'm half German and I'm quarter Swedish and a quarter Slovenian, but my whole history is erased by this one word. I'm just white,
You're white,
like a
dude.
blank sheet of paper, and then our enemies are black. It seems like we're just being set up on this big global chessboard for a big engineered clash of civilizations, and no one knows their real origin or history. They just know like, oh, and it works so well. I mean, what, dude, watching people just freak out over this shooting. All black people are just like unleashing all of
Yeah,
this.
I
It's
saw a
all
headline. I think it was yesterday or the day before. There are no there are no good white people. There were only less bad white people.
exactly. And
That
the
was a
Jews,
headline on news.
I know the Jews putting this idea in people's heads, and just Google this one time just for fun. Google "white people suck," and then it brings up all of these articles, and some of them are, it's been on TV, and so you got this thing where it's okay to say white people suck. But could you imagine if there was a black people suck thing that went mainstream? That would just it's anytime you see something like that that's just completely hypocritical, then you know who's pulling the strings behind that. And the Jews don't like black people either. They don't like anybody
No, they
but
don't.
themselves. But
That's
the
just
reason,
like cops don't like snitches.
yeah,
You know
right.
what I mean? Just
And you
because
know,
you're a fucking snitch piece of crap, cops don't. They got no respect for you, and neither do the Jews. We're all
and you
like,
know who else the Jews hate probably more
gays,
than the other
tricksters.
types of Gentiles are the gutless Shabbos goyim that sell out their entire people just for their own personal gain. And because you don't, I mean, the Jews can't understand that because they all stick together. And there are certain things about them that are good. I mean, of course, they are a bunch of psychopaths, and they're afraid that they're going to get caught, so they do work harder to stick together than we do. But they don't have any respect for Gentiles that work for them and that carry out their agenda. They respect them least of all, and
Yeah.
they're just not your friends. You're never going to be in their little club. So quit
No,
trying.
they look at you with contempt. They look at you contemptuously at best.
Yeah. So, but yeah, just observing the way people, how polarizing this shooting is. Anytime one of these race issues comes up, and all of a sudden, we're all at each other's throats, and all it takes is for one person on my, like, Facebook friends list to say some racist comment, which I always delete them, and I hardly get any anymore because I hate racists and I kick them off my page the second that they say anything. But one person says something, then you're going to look like you're guilty by association. Like, wow, you're friends with that person that has those abhorrent beliefs. And so we get all painted with this really broad brush. We all hate it. and here, we're being wound up and made to clash with each other when it's Jewish banking interests that have set up the whole thing, and we need to work together against them. That's the common enemy. So whenever people are having their little black versus white argument, I just try to. It's kind of funny. I feel like I'm David Duke or something every time I do it, but you have to try to get them to look at what the Jewish media, the 96% Jewish-owned media, is broadcasting, and this whole issue. The other thing that makes it really stink to me is that I played in a black church for about 2 years, this Baptist church, and these are the sweetest people that I ever met in my life. Old black folks, 70s, 80s. The women wear colorful dresses and big colorful hats, and they're bright orange, and they're the sweetest people. I was the only white guy in the whole place, and you'd think that they would want to get away from all the crackers, all the white people when they go to worship their Lord, but they were just. I would come down off of that stage, and they would come up and hold my hand, and they would be like, tell me how talented I was, and I literally never met more sweet people in my life. So if this guy was really wanting to blow away, if he was really against these black criminals and stuff, why would he go to the
why would he go to a church full of beautiful people?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all. That's why I say it screams MK Ultra.
Yeah, he should have been on a street corner, a heroin crack corner or something at least.
Yeah.
If that was his true ideology. It's always innocent people, schools, churches. These people, they never go into, to where they never go and address. They always shoot innocent people.
It's engineered to cause maximum outrage.
Bad, man. They could just go shoot innocent folks. That's why, there's a combination of trauma-based mind control. I don't know how to stress this enough to people that that this does happen, man.
Oh man, just Google MK Ultra. All of their documents and things. Well, the documents that they didn't shred still exist, and there's absolute proof that they take people, electroshock their brains until their personalities are gone. And then they can program you with a looped recording.
Oh, dude.
My name is Mohammed, the suicide bomber, or my name is Dylan, the white supremacist. And they can literally, and they do it.
They can keep you in a cage, and they can rape you, and then they can make you watch as they rape and fucking and just mutilate other children. And that's what a lot of these, for instance, the Columbine shooters have been raped, and there was a big cover up after that, and that so. It's way insidious.
And it's all real, and it's the hardest part is not feeling like a nut when you're telling someone about it.
I know.
I happen to know a lot about it because there's a channel called Psyche Truth where they interview Dr. Colin Ross. This is this doctor that he's like an anti-psychiatry psychiatrist, and he has all of the MK Ultra documents. He spent $1,500 and bought 15,000 pages, and they describe all of their experiments on people and how they do it all, and this whole Manchurian Candidate thing.
Right.
It's totally real, but it just sounds like a science fiction thing. Oh, mind control. Okay, you're a Fruit Loop, and you're like, no, man, this shit is absolutely real.
I mean, they can make you split into different personalities. They can traumatize you to the point where we're
good people. We're God-fearing people. We're being led by leaders who are godly, who are lawless. All right? Don't let them fool you into thinking you're lawless and you don't have to care. They can call it whatever they want, but they can't make it hate. Yeah.
I'd rather die than be a slave to thee. Don't treat me this way. I'd rather